Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here to speak at Climate and Art 2021 event. My name is Daisy Zhang. I'm the stormwater engineer for the Department of Public Works at City of Delray Beach. Today, I'm going to talk about Delray's resiliency. So I'm going to talk about, the climate change and what City of Delray has done and will do to make our community more resilient. So let's talk about first concept, climate change and sea level rise. So we have heard about climate change a lot, but what actually is causing the climate change? When we go to gas station and pump gas into our car, we are consuming the fossil fuel, and our car generate emission that actually contribute to the global warming by adding more greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. There is one major greenhouse gas called carbon dioxide. This gas actually absorbs and radiates heat. So when more of it gets added into atmosphere, it absorbs and radiates more heat back to the earth and make our earth warmer. So it is called global warming. When global warming happens, actually the iceberg in Arctic gets melted, and as a result, the sea level rises. So let's look at some numbers. By 2030, about 10 years from now on, the sea level rise will result in about 4 feet storm surge above the high tide. By 2050, the storm surge will be about 5 feet above the high tide. So let's look at our homes, our infrastructures, how high they are. So 5 million of our homes, people, they live on the land less than 4 feet above the high tide. That means by 2030, those 5 million people, they may be in the flood zone, and then again, 6 million people on land live less than 5 feet above. This one means by 2050, those people are going to be in the flood zone as well. So a lot of research has done regarding about the climate change and sea level rise, including NOAA, FDEP, and I just found this one on the internet from a study done by FAU. So this estimated 6 more inches of sea level rise will actually cripple about half of the South Florida flood control capacity. So the climate change is real and sea level rise is here. We have to act right now, not later, for sea level rise in South Florida. This is another recent study done by FDEP along the coastline. You can see this study shows in the last 100 years of food had rise in Florida, and in that of food, 5 inches, about 50% of the rise happened actually in the last 20 years. So from this number, you can see the sea level rise is not increasing at a steady rate. It's actually accelerating in the last 20 years. So by 2040, the number could increase by 3 to 11 additional inches. And by 2017, that's about 50 years from now on, the sea level could be 14 to 39 inches higher than that in 2000. That means in the next 50 years, the sea level rise will be the same extent as in the last 100 years, about a foot rise. So let's tell you some very interesting story. Here, you see, this one is an octopus showing up in a Miami parking garage. So why this is happening? An octopus in a Miami parking garage? Let's take a look at this slide. This is an animation of how stormwater and the nearby water body works. So if we can look at this pipe, this is called outfall pipe. So it connects the city drainage system to the outfall water body. And when this pipe was installed, it was like decades ago. So it was situated well above the average high tide. When the water comes into the drainage pipe, the outfall pipe, it will drain out to the outfall water body. However, as the sea level rises, you can see now this outfall pipe is under the average high tide. So when we have rains coming, the water accumulate, along our property, on the road, near our house, but the water cannot drain through the outfall pipe into the nearby water body because the pipe is already filled with salt water. So when this happens, some wild creature also follows water and go up to the drain and show up in the parking garage. That is how an octopus showed up in a Miami parking garage. This is another animation showing the sea level changes and what is impact to our community. Small changes, small rise can cause big changes. You can see here with the sea level changes, our shoreline gets changed. We lose some shoreline here, and then water gets closer to our home. Eventually, it will reach our home and cause flooding damage. So what City of Delray Beach has done we have a beach management program actually here in the City of Delray. We do a survey every year to evaluate how much sand we have lost and how much sand we need to put in to restore our shoreline. As a matter of fact, in the past 8 years, the City of Delray has put in about 8 million cubic yards of sand to restore our shoreline and protect our residents. Now I'm going to talk about king tide. King tide is a layman term that people constantly use to describe exceptionally high tide. So it is the highest predicted high tide. Like hurricane, it is predictable. It only happens when the Earth, Moon, and Sun are in a certain orbital angle. So now we have the king tide dates for this year. You can see it happens in the last quarter of the year, and hurricane gets here more frequently in September and October. So the reason we like to study king tide is because with the sea level rise, today's king tide will be tomorrow's high tide, and tomorrow's high tide will be the average tide for the next few years. So we want to study the king tide and get ourselves protected from king tide. In this way, in the next maybe 20 years, we will be protected. So what can king tide do? King tide can reach over 12 inches above the average high tide of the year. So you can see on the left picture, I found this one on the internet. When king tide happens, and if we have a hurricane, unfortunately, the wind is going to raise the tide and can reach really high. And it can reach 12 inches above the average tide with the wind. So this is a very scary picture. If this happens, it can destroy anything along the coast. And the right-hand picture is also a real picture found on the internet, happened a few years ago during a king tide event in Las Olas Boulevard. You can see this person has to do kayaking on a strait that's flooded with water. So let's see what king tide has done here in City of Delray. In 2015, October 27, it was a king tide event. So when the king tide happened here in the Delray, you can see it is the water reaching the top of the seawall. Actually, this chair is sitting next to a pool. And then this catch basin totally cannot function because the water is on top of it. And this is the flooding along the Marineway. If people people are familiar with this area gets flooded a lot when there is a king tide. So now we go to the key point, like what the city of Delray has done and will do to protect our community from those potential flooding events from sea level rise. So in 2018, City of Delray has done a vulnerability study to evaluate our water level and infrastructure. So we studied 4 miles of intercoastal waterway. From this study, there are several recommendations were made. First, it's recommended that we raise our seawall to 3.9 foot to 4.4 foot high. So with this height, we can protect ourselves for the next 30 years. And also, 80% of waterfront parcels are vulnerable. They need to raise their seawall. In the city of Delray, we have a total about 21 miles of seawall. 90% of them were owned by private residents. That means like 20 miles of them are private, and 1 mile is public. So, city of Delray has working diligently to reserve fund and raise the seawall caps. However, we also need the public to do the same thing, raise their own private seawall. If we both do it together, then we can successfully raise the seawall in the whole city and make ourselves more resilient to the sea level rise. And also, from this study, 58 public stormwater inlets are unprotected. That means we have 58 outflow pipes that needs backflow prevention device. We also need to do public outreach and educate the residents. This event is a part of this effort. And also in the past, I think 2 years, from 2019 to 2020, after this vulnerability study, the city of Delray has done about 5 town hall meetings, invite local residents come here and listen to the seawall rise study and sea level rise study, and also the recommendation from the vulnerability studies. And we have about 150 to 200 residents who attended all 5 town hall meetings. We also need to develop guidelines to improve the private seawall and the stormwater system. So we actually have a seawall ordinance that's currently in progress to be approved to make sure the both public and privately owned seawall will have a minimum elevation of 4.0 foot. Stormwater Master Plan. This Stormwater Master Plan was originally created in 1993, and the latest revision was done in 2000 and 2018. Stormwater Master Plan was done to address the water resource issues and problems in those areas like drainage, street flooding, tidal flooding, the stormwater quality. So this master plan go to each problem areas in the city, find what is the problem and what's the solution, and give each problem areas a ranking based on their project need and project cost, and then we will come up with a list. This is how the list gets implemented. We will select a few projects that is in urgent need and get them planned, designed, and built. So right now we have 3 projects, capital projects that's currently underway. The first one, Thomas Street Pump Station. It is a brand new pump station that is currently under design. Tropical Isle Improvement. This project is actually in planning phase. It's going to raise the roadway 6 inches and improve the underwater utility system. Marineway drainage and pump station. This is in design now. It's going to raise the seawall along the marineway and improve the drainage system there and possibly put a pump station there. We also have some future capital improvement projects. Those are the projects that are on our list that will be built in the future years when we have the funding available. Let me mention this. The city has been diligently looking for different funding sources. The city has applied for a federal grant for tropical isle improvement, and the city will apply for state and federal grants for other critical projects. The third one is repair and rehabilitation. So this is what we call the operation and maintenance program. It is a continuous effort. So this program will look at our pipes to determine if some pipes are too old or broken, need to be repaired. And this program also look at outflow pipes to decide, if we need to put a backflow prevention device on it or not. Let's take a look at some exciting infrastructure project that is done here in City of Delray. First, we're going to look at Veterans Park Seawall and Dock Renovation Project. This one was completely renovated in 2019. If we look at the pictures here, this is the picture that is before the renovation. You can see the seawall cap is low, and after renovation we added in new dock and increased the seawall cap. So the seawall was raised 20 inches higher than it was before for its entire length from Veterans Park to Atlantic Avenue Bridge. And also we used those things called super piles, those black piles. They are 30 feet long and 12 inches in diameter. They were driven into the bed of the intercoastal, so they support the docks. They also serve as the fender piles for the boats. The other project we want to take a look is the City Marina total renovation. This project was completed in 2021. Let's hear the city news first.
Welcome to the revitalized City Marina here in Delray Beach.
Woo!
Yes, I'd like to start by saying welcome and thank you to Mayor Shelley Petrolia, Vice Mayor Ryan Boylston, Deputy Vice Mayor Shirley Johnson, Commissioner Julie Cassell, and Interim City Manager Jennifer Alvarez. Thank each of you for your continued support and help along the way in each part of this process, as well as Commissioner Adam Frankel. I want to give a specific acknowledgement to Public Works Director Missy Barletto, as well as Isaac Kovner for all of your work on this project. Each and every detail that you guys have improved in this facility, from customized floating docks, the ramps, each one of the pedestals, power, each item in this was considered, evaluated, and really improved along the way. It's remarkable what you guys have done, and there's a lot of people in this city that don't even know that this hidden gem is here. And what a great pedestrian corridor we're creating here to connect the north and the south along the way here on Atlantic Ave in the Intercoastal. Just a prime piece of property here in Palm Beach County, and we're really, really proud of this entire project. Without further ado, I'd like to invite the Mayor, Shelley Petrolia, to come say a few words.
Well, hello everyone and welcome. This was a long time coming, and I'm very excited at this dedication to what is now really an additional park in our city, and a very special one at that. I wanted to just mention a couple of things that were taken into consideration when we were doing this project. First of all, this walk path is actually the cap of our seawall. And it was something that we needed to raise, but also make it so that it was pedestrian friendly, not just a seawall that nobody could walk on. Now you're going to be able to have almost like a promenade between here and Veterans Park, which will connect the two. And secondly, there were some very interesting engineering designs that were had on this particular marina. We have self-charged pump-out stations. That's one of a kind. We've got that right here in Delray Beach. And if you look over my shoulder and you see the pilings that are round, those are actually pilings that are wrapped. And they did that because when the wood is treated, it leaches out into our waters, whatever it's been treated with, which is not necessarily good. And so we're taking our environment into consideration when we're doing things now, which I think is really important for our future. By keeping this very open and having the berm kind of drop off at the grade kind of lower, it really does give that park-like setting so that people can enjoy it. Thank you to everyone that played a part in making this the incredible site that we're seeing today.
Welcome and enjoy your revitalized and hopefully award-winning City Marina. 1, 2, 3.
Here we go.
So I went to City Marina a few times. That place was amazing, totally brand new. It just looks so good. And plus, on top of that, the video mentioned the seawall cap got raised. It also will protect us from the future sea level rise. Here we have some pictures of the City Marina. So from Veterans Park to City Marina, there are 3-phase projects. The first phase was Veterans Park, completed in 2018. The second phase was City Marina, was completed in 2021. And the third phase is the Marineway project. That's 600 foot in the middle between these two completed projects. So the Marineway project, we have got some public comments, and we have addressed public comments. You can see, from the initial design alternative to the current design, we listened to the public, and we will preserve the mangrove, and we will not disturb the existing private docks. And this is a detailed design about this Marineway. We will have some parking, have a gutter valley will drain the water. We will have a roadway or boardwalk so people to walk on it. And the most important, we will have a raised seawall to protect us from sea level rise. So backflow prevention device, I mentioned this before. Those devices are designed to be installed on outflow pipe to stop seawater going into the pipe, but still serve the function for the stormwater to drain outside the device going to the water body. So we have 3 popular devices here. One is called a floodgate. So it is a gate with 2 hinges on the top. When the water pressure inside the pipe reaches certain level, it will push the gate open. But when the gate is closed, you see the outside seawater cannot go in. The second type is called tight flex duckbill. So it looks like a duckbill, right? It is made of rubber. It's installed on outflow pipe. It serves the same function. When the water pressure reaches a certain level, the duckbill will open, water comes out. But when the duckbill, is closed, the water cannot go in. The third one is called a one-stop inline check valve. This one is the city standard check valve. It is made of stainless steel. It's installed inside the pipe. So we can see why this one is a city standard. You can see this is the floodgate. This is a duckbill. After they have been in the water for such a long time, many years, the floodgate is not working anymore because there are barnacles grow along the seal of the gate. They totally seal the gate, so no matter how high the water pressure inside the pipe, it cannot push the gate open. And similar thing happened to the duckbill. There are marine growth inside the duckbill, so duckbill cannot close at all. Now I'm going to talk about the Tiger Dam. Tiger Dam is a system that the city recently bought about 700 foot to protect the Marineway until the Marineway project is completed. So the Tiger Dam project is a long tube that you can connect them together to make any dams or stack them to make any shape. So each tube, when it is dry, is 65 pounds, but when you fill it with water, it's 6,300 pounds. So the concept of Tiger Dam is to use water to fight water. So the most advantage to use Tiger Dam is the cost saving in labors. You can see one tube of Tiger Dam takes about 20 minutes to set up. However, each Tiger Dam tube is equal to 550 sandbags. For a person, just one person, to lay down 550 sandbags, it will take about 12.5 hours for one person to do that. You can see the cost saving, 20 minutes versus 12.5 hours. And also, Tiger Dam is very easy to put up and very easy to remove. Takes no storage spaces. So there are some Tiger Dam application, in the country. The first picture we can see here, they put down a Tiger Dam just outside a subway entrance. This way the water cannot go into the subway. And this is another one, they put down Tiger Dam to protect a historic building. You actually can put Tiger Dam in front of your house. This is a Tiger Dam in front of personal resident house. So this is the picture we took in September, just before the king tide arrived. So this is a Tiger Dam in front of deck 84 and filled. You can see it is very flat. So this is the Tiger Dam after it is filled with higher fire hydrant. So let's watch a video talking about Tiger Dam versus king tide. So the last topic I'm going to tell you about is the seawall ordinance. This ordinance right now is still in draft mode. It was presented to the city commissioner on September 23rd for first reading. We're going to have a second reading. If all commissioners gave their approval, this seawall ordinance will become effective. So some major points in the seawall ordinance. First, it sets a minimum seawall elevation of 4.0 for seawalls, either public or private owned. So all the seawalls in the city of Delray need to have a minimum seawall elevation of 4.0 foot. And second point is the ordinance needs to be disclosed on the contract for sale of real estate. The third one is talking about any substantial improvement. Substantial improvement, the definition for it is if you do any improvement more than 50% of the seawall length, then you need to follow this seawall ordinance. The last one will be the code enforcement of citation. I want to mention about some detail for this code enforcement on citation. Like in the seawall ordinance, the owner have the responsibility to maintain the seawall and keep it in good shape. Make sure it meets the minimum seawall elevation and free of cracks. And the owner needs to make sure they seal the seawall joints every 2 or 3 years. However, if your seawall fails and floods your own yard, you will not get a citation. But because of your seawall failure, it floods your neighbor's yard and floods the nearby public-owned roadway, then you will get a citation. So this is a graphic explanation of the seawall ordinance. You can see that if you do any improvement more than 50% of this seawall length, then you need to follow this seawall ordinance. And there will be penalties, as I mentioned before, for flooding or damage to your neighbor or public-owned structure. So when we were drafting the seawall ordinance, we have looked at our neighbors' seawall ordinance. You can see in our neighbors, there's seawall ordinance, like 3 of them: Surfside, Lighthouse Point, and Fort Lauderdale. Their seawall ordinance are within the recommended 3.9 to 4.4 foot range.